talk about success and what it means to different people. I'm your host, Alanah, and today we're here with Jade Darmawangsa. Hi, Jade.
Hey, Alanah. I'm super excited to be here.
Me too. So I'm just going to jump into it. Basically, your whole channel and kind of what you built was how to get people to be successful on the internet. So I'm kind of wondering why you chose that as your path. And then also I've noticed that you've kind of transitioned into a lot more of a lifestyle on different platforms. Like on your TikTok, you've talked about surfing a lot. So kind of your journey through why you started with that and why it's changing.
Yeah, totally. So my story started actually way before my current YouTube channel, talking about like internet culture and like social media success. So when I was 9, I started my first YouTube channel playing with dolls. Like I just liked telling stories and getting some internet besties. Yes. So I remembered like I just made videos for fun. And I was really inspired by like YouTubers like Bethany Moda, Michelle Phan, like just like the OG creators. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think with a lot of creators, like you kind of get an idea of like, okay, I want to make videos, but you don't really know what to do. Yeah. So that was me. So for like 10 years, so I started when I was 9, I'm like 20 now. Oh, wow. Like I was just like making the randomest content. Like I was making doll videos, beauty content. It wasn't until I was 16 where I made one video where I was talking about like how I grew my Instagram to like 5,000 followers is when like it took off. I got my first 1 million viewed video, and wow. I think 1 million views are less like cool now because TikTok is like really easy to do that. But like at the time on YouTube it was like a huge deal. I was like 16. Yeah. And and I just like kind of like, okay, I guess people want this type of content. So I kept going. It was completely on accident. So I think for me, the reason why I like to do surfing content on other social medias is just like, I like experimenting. And then whatever the world wants, I kind of just
go with that.
Keep going and go with the flow. So yeah.
And so you're kind of comfortable with like transitioning your content to something new and like starting, because you do something completely different on TikTok, and Instagram is more of like lifestyle stuff as well. So are you comfortable with that? Like, how did you realize like what does better on different platforms?
To be very honest, I take a very untraditional approach with social media. Like, I don't want to make money from social media. And I know that's really weird because I talk a lot about it. I think that like I made YouTube videos because I love it. Like it's not about the money. It's about making videos, making content, telling a story. When I started to make money, it stressed me out. I think when I was starting to make internet, like to be very honest, when I was making like videos around like how Emma Chamberlain grew or like Instagram growth, I made like money, but I was really unhappy. And I realized like, I think with a lot of people, if you're a creator, you understand this, or just in anything, like when there's pressure to perform and do something, like it's not fun. Yeah. So like for me, I think it's easier to experiment because I don't take myself that seriously. Like I'm literally a surfer on one platform. I make business content on YouTube, and then I like, can I cuss on here?
Sure, yeah. It's fine.
Okay. I was just wondering. I fuck around on like Instagram. So I don't know. Like I think for me, it's like I really think the way you should build a brand has always been like start with you like, and then from there you can find the opportunities. But if you start with making money first, it's going to be really hard to like enjoy it.
Yeah. So you kind of just found what worked and like went with that. So you have like helped a lot of people grow based on your content on YouTube. What have you noticed has been like the key to success for a lot of people from different, like for your own success or for other people's success?
Yeah, I think there's like 3 phases in like a creator's growth, and it's kind of like a startup. There's this book called 0 to 1. I think it's by the Teal Fellowship guy. But anyways, 0 to 1 is like the idea around like what you do when you get your first maybe 0 to 100 followers is way different than 100 to 10,000, as you know. Like it's just different. So I've always seen like if you're trying to go from 0 to let's say 100 subscribers, it's really about consistency and frequency. Kind of cringy, but like you just need to be consistent. I know everyone says that, but it's the truth. I think when you go to 100 to like 1,000 or 10,000, you have to take a different approach. You have to not think about frequency, but strategically, like what are things that are like really trendy, but like still like natural to me, and I can combine it to make a new type of content. So I call this like the remix strategy. Basically, you want to figure out like not just to make a bunch of videos, but make really good content that kind of gets a new audience. And I think once you hit like 1 million over, you know, personally for me, it's about like building community, building products, like not just like selling merch, but how do you build like brands that are long-term. Yeah. So I think it's like, it depends on what stage you're in, but I think in the beginning, it's all about consistency.
Mm-hmm. What is success like just specifically to you? Like what is your success, or like what makes you feel successful?
That's a good question. I think success for me is being able to travel and work with creative people. I think the people you surround yourself at, it's so like cliche, but it's cliche for a reason. I think it's just so important to surround yourself with really good people, because like it doesn't matter if you make like 6 figures, 7 figures, but you're like hanging out with like a manager that's like not really good for your mental health, or you have to make videos that you don't really care about. So I think success is saying yes to what I want to do and saying no to what I don't. That's like true freedom, right? When you have the ability to be like, I don't want to work with this person, and you can have the ability to say that.
Yeah. When did you kind of feel like you reached that point, or do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like you've reached the success that you need, or is there something like your next step, or like what are you know?
That's a good question. I thought I reached it, but then I like have to deal with some lame dude that was being mean to me, on the internet. Like I think it's one of those things where you don't really reach it. It's I felt it maybe this year, but there's always going to be things you can improve.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I approach success. At the same time, I obviously have lofty goals. Like I have maybe things I want to buy for myself, like ways I want to scale my brand and my businesses. Because I don't just do YouTube. I have a company. But I don't know. For now, I'm like taking it pretty chill.
Yeah.
Like I'm just trying to be happy every day.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a consistent thing. Like you have to find success every single day, not just like something that you reach and then it's done.
Totally. Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's what I was getting from that. Like that it's not like you get it and then you forever have success. Like you always have to be thinking about what's the next thing, and you have other goals. That's great. I actually like that a lot. I feel like a lot of people have talked about like happiness being success, and so I think it's nice hearing a different like idea of what success is.
I just don't think if you're like happiness is so like hard to like measure and contain, because I think it's like true happiness is sometimes when I like right before it, I feel really sad, but then I feel like it's like if you only optimize for the high parts, you're kind of optimizing for a percentage of your life. And I feel like that's really dangerous, versus you can be, if success to you is something where you can do every day, you're going to feel more successful, more motivated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like you can be successful and you can be unhappy, or you can be happy and not successful. And there's different ways to like kind of approach that. And there's like, you might reach success and not actually be happy, depending on what you're doing. So I agree with that.
Yeah, totally.
What do you feel about like passion and success? Do you think that you have to be passionate about what you're doing to be successful? Or do you think those two things can be separate? Like you can have a passion and then you can be successful in different things? Or do you think maybe both?
I know people like me that are like, I can only make money and be successful in something that I care about. Like for me, like I care about like climate change and sustainability, and like a lot of my projects in my agency that I work on are revolved around that. And I can't, like I literally will say no to brands that will pay like, 6-figure budgets if it's not aligned to me. I just can't. But I also know people that are like money machines and like have only one goal of like building $1 billion company and brand, and like they just go. So, it's really about who you are as a person and your upbringing. Personally, for me, I can't do things if it doesn't make sense or benefit others.
Okay. What was your life growing up like? Like, are your parents really successful and like wanted you to like go to college and do this and that? Is like how was your life growing up?
Good question. How was my life growing up? I had a really like, my parents had no money growing up. Like my childhood was pretty tough, honestly. And so kind of context, my dad, he is an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. I was born in LA. We lived like in a really nice house in like Pasadena. And I remembered we lost everything in 2008 when the recession hit. So we moved to Texas. I remember like moving in a little van, and I'm an only child. So like, I didn't have a lot of people to talk to. I moved to another state and kind of started over there. And I remembered, sleeping on an air mattress for a little bit. Like, at the time I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know we were going through a recession. I didn't know why we went from a house to like an apartment. But I saw my dad really have a lot of resilience, and he's still trying to keep growing his business, but he definitely had a level of depression. I think for like a long time, my dad experienced like health issues. Like he had a heart attack. He, had like a lot of like, health issues, because like when you're stressed, like it will affect your mental health, and money is a huge part of it. So I think I got a sense of like drive to make money, because I'm like, oh my God, like my family's sick. And I think at the time I also got pretty sick. So I was in a wheelchair. Not a lot of people noticed, but I was in a wheelchair from like 8 to 10, because that's why I started YouTube, because I couldn't go to school because I had really bad eczema. I was like scratching myself a lot, and it's kind of gruesome, but basically I couldn't walk because like my joints couldn't move. And I remember like that's why I started YouTube, because I couldn't go to school. I didn't have friends, and
it was an outlet.
Looking back, it was an outlet, and thank God for YouTube, because like it really helped me, you know, build a career. But at the time, it was like everything I had. So like, I think for me, I got a sense of like, okay, like I was super motivated, not to make money out of YouTube, but just to do something, like help my parents. I remember I told my parents, I was like, Mom, Dad, I was like 9, keep in mind. I was like, Mom, Dad, one day I'll make $500 and then like solve all our problems. Like I thought like $500 would solve like everything.
So like at that age, you think that's like the most money you can possibly
that's the most money I can make. And my mom's like, okay, $500. But I was just motivated. Like I'm still am to like give back to my parents, help them out. You know, I started a business because I love making content and like building a brand, but also it was because like, damn, like my dad, you know, now his company, like he definitely bounced back. Like a lot of people that suffered 2008 don't bounce back, but he, you know, he kept going with his company and now they're doing good. So there's a little happy ending, but definitely like my first, like my childhood was definitely a roller coaster, but I think it made me a lot more resilient and, you know, stronger.
It definitely shaped how you like went about business. I feel like, and like thinking about them, is that like your why? Is that your reason for doing things?
It's a good question. I think for the longest time, yes, I want to buy my parents a house. Like that's been like the goal. But as I've been going to therapy, I realized like having goals for other people is very scary, because what do you do when you reach that? Or even more importantly, like what are you doing for yourself? You know, like yes, you can give a lot to other people, but like what is it that you want? Anyways, I think that is, my parents have always been the driving force, but I'm also figuring out like what do I want as a person?
Yeah. I also wonder, because you started here in LA, and why did you come back to, because you're in Southern California still, right? Why did you come back from Texas? Did you always want to? Was there a reason for that? And also, because I'm wondering, some other people that I talked to grew up here in LA as well, and I was wondering how that shaped their lives. But you moved out of LA and still have like that drive. So I'm wondering a little bit about
so moves. My timeline is like I lived in LA, born in LA, moved to Texas, no choice because we had no money. Then moved to Oregon because that's where my dad had his job opportunity. And then I personally try to make money on YouTube and move back to LA. So I think I just, you know, LA is so cool. Like it's where you are, creators are, like it is like where people make dreams. So it's obvious that I like had, when I moved back to LA at 16, I had $1,000 in my bank account and 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Like I had no plan.
When you were 16?
So what's that?
Did you move alone when you were 16, or was
I moved alone. I lived in a USC dorm. Like I had no money for rent. So I lived in a USC dorm, and all my housemates were like, who the fuck is this bitch? Because I'd be like, I don't go to USC. I'm just like a 16-year-old.
You're like, I just have no other option. Like this is what you have to.
This is it. Yeah, I remember because I dropped out of school right before that. So I dropped out of high school, moved to LA. Yeah, so I was kind of like, I was just full sending it.
Yeah, you were like, I'm making this happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Was that hard, being like 16 without your family and like coming out here?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think like my family and I had like a phone call here too, but like, you know, adulting is tough. Like I'm an only child, you know, I don't know how to take out the laundry or like cook for myself. And like, I learned it all obviously, but definitely a really tough few years. I think for me, I love LA and I go back to LA because it's where like you really just like see a bunch of people also struggle. Like a lot of, I think a lot of people go to LA because they want to build a dream and like be successful. But I also think there's a lot of people that struggle here and like you kind of bond with them a little bit. So like for the longest time, like, yes, my friends were like really successful entrepreneurs, but I learned the most successful people are sometimes the most depressed, the most stressed, or like they have some other shit going on. And I like, not that I like want to be around misery, but it's like comforting to know that like, you're not alone. Like everyone's going through some stuff.
Yeah. I used to live here from like 2013 to 19. And then I moved back to my hometown and I came back just to like be in the energy again. I missed this energy here. But
where'd you live?
When I moved back home.
Where was home from you?
It's Santa Rosa. It's by San Francisco, 45 minutes.
Got you.
Yeah. So it was good 2 years being there and like, you know, being with family and friends and everything, but I missed like the energy and like the passion and the creativity here. And I think that's what like drives my like force to like keep creating, I guess.
I know. I moved to San Luis Obispo like last year just because like quarantine. I wanted to be closer to like of the beach, but I remember like there's not a lot of creators, and it like the where you surround yourself with totally matters, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, LA's magical in that way.
Do you feel like working with other people like helps you be more creative or like get further or like build with your success, or do you think working alone kind of helps you? Because I was talking to one person and they said I love working with other people, whereas the last person I talked to, she was like, no, I love doing everything on my own. I want full control of like everything I edit, everything I do. I don't want to work with anyone.
Yeah, I used to edit all my videos, my YouTube videos till like 3 years ago, where I hired an editor, and it was the scariest thing. Like sorry Amanda, but like Amanda, my editor, knows this, but she's like, Jade is so like choosy, like picky. Like she does not want anybody to like say her message other than her. And you know, I definitely think it's so tough to like outsource a part of like such an important part of making content. For me, I like working with other people because I realized my like in business or in branding, like you need to figure out like that one thing. And like I think personally for me, my one thing is like connecting with people. So like if I spend too much time in the corner editing a video and the technical stuff, I don't think I'd be able to figure out my one thing, and that enables me to, you know, work on my channel. But also I have an agency that I run. I manage creators. We do a lot of stuff in like NFTs and crypto now. So like I have to be like researching, and I can't spend time editing. I do think there's some creators out there that are fully artists, that they don't want to handle the business side and they want to fully control everything. And I think that is actually super reasonable, but you still need help. Like maybe you need someone managing the email side. So I don't know. I don't think anybody sustainably can build a brand alone, but I do know people that prefer working alone, but they still have other people that help.
Yeah. How do you deal with like failure? Like when you work so hard on something and then it doesn't perform or it just doesn't work out, like how do you deal with that, like the bounce back? Because I know you were just talking about how your dad like had a great recovery after like such a hard time. I'm wondering how you deal with it, or how you've seen.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I think my dad definitely has been such a great role model in dealing with failure. Like his way of dealing with failure is it sucks, but you get through it. You know, that's what I saw, right? Like my dad fell down, and like I make him sound like he's like is a tragic story, but like he really did his best. Like he had like a company that scaled like $2 million to $2 million in 2 months, and then like lost everything. Like it's tough. And I don't know, I think for me, now that I seen him rebuild his business and, you know, have a few years of being down, I realize like, okay, if I'm having a bad day, a bad week, like it's nothing compared to that. You know, it's like I can rebuild myself. And even if the worst things comes to worst, like you're not alone. Like I remember my dad, the way he got on a lot of these problems and issues was asking for help. Like he, you know, like he would go to like, so basically for some context, my dad's company used to work in like, he would build software for like enterprise companies, but then because of like the whole internet era, he had to pivot from building enterprise brands to like e-commerce, like Shopify. So that's a huge pivot. So he asked like some Shopify brands, like, how can I help you? And like, I remembered like, the biggest thing I learned is like a lot of the times when you fall down, it's not like people leave you. Sometimes you're so ashamed of your own self, you remove yourself from those conversations. And it takes a lot of courage to come back up and be like, hey, like I need help. And telling, you know, in business, it's typically like your clients or maybe like people that can help you or advisors, right? Like, hey, like I need help. So I think for me, it's like, I look at failure as like an opportunity just to ask for help. Like I don't look at it as like oh, you did something wrong. It's like, no, like you just need to like get some feedback. Like that's the way I see it. And it's so tough because the thing is like, when you look at things that way, like, oh, it's just an opportunity for me to ask for help. It doesn't remove the rejection you feel, you know, like you're still going to feel like shit.
And also I feel like some people have such a hard time asking for help. Like it's
right.
Like
it's so hard.
Feel kind of like ashamed, like, oh, I have to actually ask for help with this.
Totally. Like I go to therapy once a week and like every day it's like, it's so hard to be vulnerable to ask for help. It's like, I struggle with it. I'm here talking on a podcast about it, but I'm not perfect at it. Yeah. So I think it's like, you just have to try to improve, but I definitely think it's really painful. Something I do think, which is why I mentioned this in the beginning, but like when you're around people in LA, the right circle, like you realize it's so normal for people to fail. Like if you don't live in LA, and you look at people who live in LA and all their success on Instagram, you're gonna be like, damn, they're always winning. In reality, when you build connections with people in LA, living in LA, you realize like their day-to-day is like really tough. You know, it's like a lot of people that are looking super successful, rich online can't pay their rent on time. And that's like not to shame on them, but it's like normal to struggle.
I think everyone forgets to realize that, especially when you see someone successful or like someone like blow up or someone's business do really well. You forget that like they worked so hard to get there and that there's all the ups and downs just to get there.
Yes, totally.
What do you think it takes for someone to be successful? Like, do they need to they need to be resilient? They need to do this. They need to do that. Like, what do you think it takes for like a person to be successful in whatever they're doing?
I think that there's like 3 traits, I would say. I think the first thing is ability to forget the outcome. Like basically falling in love with the process. Mm-hmm. Like I think for a lot of the time, if I was focused, right, on like, if I was focused on getting 10 million subscribers or whatever the goal, maybe it was like 10,000 subscribers when I was 1,000, I don't think I would be able to keep going because I created like 100 videos before my first video blew up. So if I just focus on the outcome, I would not have gotten there. So I think you have to be able to figure out like, what the fuck do you like that's not outcome based, but that's like process based that like enables you to keep going. So it's like honestly just tricking your brain to find like what drives you. For me, it's like I just like telling stories. So I just focus on the process. Mm-hmm. Secondary to that, I do think you need to be really good. Like I'm going to be tactical here. Like you need to be good with numbers. Like I do think if you can't like in the beginning, because like I don't have trust fund parents, I wish. And I don't have a lot of people that like, just like, I'm not venture back. My company's not venture back. So I make my own money. Yeah. Like you have to be good at like spreadsheets. Like I think that like, if you're just going to be like, okay, you can like
wing it.
If you can wing it, but like you can't wing it for long. So I think you need a plan. I think you need to be able to be like, okay, like if 3 months hits, I'm not making a single dollar. What's my backup? Like you don't need to like force making money out of your YouTube channel, but get another job. Like I had to, freelance for a lot of startups when I was not making money on YouTube. Yeah. And not a lot of people know that, but that's how you survive in LA. And then I think the third thing is just like asking for help. Like this is the hardest thing because you kind of have to do it tastefully. Mm-hmm. You can't just like ask a bunch of people for help. Maybe you have to like be friends with them, like make sure like you're a sociable person, add value to people's lives first. And it's a talent to network in LA because a lot of people do it very badly. Yeah. You don't want to just ask for help because I can go into that later, but I think those are the 3 things I would say that would make you successful.
Wait, well, let's go into it. What's like a tasteful way to do it? Because I think that'll be really helpful tips because like not just in LA, but asking for help anywhere, like whatever business you're doing, like what's a tasteful way to do it?
Okay, what tasteful way? So there's 2 ways.
Yes.
The first is called the cold approach. This is if you don't know someone, but you look up to them like crazy. Like this is good if you look up to a YouTuber or celebrity or whatever, influencer or founder. Mm-hmm. So I have an email script that I use that works really well. And it goes something like this. Basically, say you want to get mentored or get advice from someone. You don't want to ask them for help. You want to tell them about a project that's interesting to them and then kind of leave it up to them to be like, I can help you. And let me explain. Mm-hmm. So this is a true story. Last year, this happened. I was struggling. I know a lot of people know this, but like I was running X8 Media to the ground, like maxing credit cards. Like we were doing really good in brand deals and revenue, but brands don't pay on time.
I know that.
So like, it's just a lot of like, we're going to make it this quarter, but I don't know if we're going to make it this month type thing. Anyways, so I was trying to figure some stuff out. This was like 2020, January. And I emailed this guy. I actually found this guy who was the founder of a company called Creative Market. And it was kind of similar to my agency, but they sold for like $200 million to Johnson & Johnson. He was a part of Y Combinator, which is a very prestigious incubator. He's now working on like a healthcare tech company, like very, very successful. But what I liked about him was like in his interviews and podcasts, he was like really human and he was like chill. Like he's like surfer, like he's like kind of like me. I was like, okay, like I think you're super cool. So I couldn't, because I'm sure everyone has emailed or cold emailed like their mentor and be like, hi, I'm needing help, but no one responds. Like, so I have to be savvy. please help me. So I was like, okay, what's a way that I can get this guy's attention? I did some stalking. You have to do some stalking. Yeah. And I realized, like he's currently working on a nonprofit that's helping young entrepreneurs like figure out their first business. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got lucky. When the person you're trying to get help from likes to do philanthropical things, it's really easy. Yeah. But anyways, so do some stalking. What was that?
Find someone that's interested in doing that, basically.
Well, not really, but I went on LinkedIn and find something you have in common. Like it could be like last time it was like, oh, we both like NFTs. So essentially what you want to do in the email is kind of say, hey, what's up, Dustin? That's a fake name. The way I frame it is like, I got connected because of this. Mm-hmm. it's a little vague of how you got connected, but no one asks. Okay. Yeah. So got connected because we both are interested in helping the Gen Z figure out entrepreneurship. Yeah. Boom, bingo. Okay. You don't start with like, I have a startup idea. You just say like, what do we have in common? LinkedIn is great to do this. Then I will kind of go into my project. I think for me, a lot of people are like, Jade, it's so easy for you to get like, mentors that are like multi-million-dollar founders, because you can say, I have a channel with 400,000 subscribers. I've built this agency for 3 years. We have X amount of revenue. It's really easy for you to say. But actually, in this email to Dustin, I didn't say any of that. I said, these are the projects I failed in. I told him I worked on this SaaS company. It's called PBJ app. It didn't work. Wow. I worked on this project. It didn't work. Because why? I knew that he wrote an article before that basically talked about his failures in his company. And I realized like, you have to be savvy with it, but you have to match the tone of the person. So like, I was like, hey, these are the things I failed at. And then I told them, but this is my new idea. From everything I failed here, this is what I've learned. Let me know your thoughts. Would love to hop on a call. That's literally it. He replied in 20 minutes. We were on a call in like an hour, and immediately he wanted to mentor and give funding to me. But I wasn't even raising money for this new idea I was working on. So I don't know. I think like that's one way to properly ask for help and network. You want to be a friend. Just be like, don't act like this person's better than you. Mm-hmm. Just be like, this is my experience and I know you can help. Now, if you're going to like a party in LA, this is a way different technique, but start with that. Let me know how it goes if anyone wants to. But yeah, I feel like LA networking is way different, but that's how I actually get real help.
Yeah. I think it's harder because like you're not always going to be out and about, and like it's easier to do it online or like email someone like and then actually meeting someone. Like how often are you going to run into people, especially if you don't live in LA?
Yes. I mean, in LA, it's like, I was at a networking creator economy dinner the other day, and it's tough because like you want to meet somebody, but like you don't want to come across like, my name is Jade, so
or like the elevator pitch hard. Or like, have you heard of that, like the elevator pitch? How do you feel about that, like when you meet someone?
So cringy.
God, right? Kind of awkward. Okay, well, what about mental block and like when you're burnt out and you're just like, I'm done with everything that I'm doing? How do you deal with it? What do you do?
Yeah, so I think burnout, which is a great question, because I think sometimes I think I'm burnt out right now. So this is a good reflection. Okay. Yeah. So
you're in the middle of it. You're like, I don't know.
For me, whenever, like right now, like whenever I realize that like I am tired, I ask myself, I think burnout is not sometimes doing too much. It's just not doing enough of what you love. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes you can be like, I had times where I was really busy, but I wasn't burnt out because I was doing what I love. So you have to ask yourself, like, what do you feel like right now you like want to spend your time on? Like, for example, this is like very basic, but I just like, watching a good dumb rom-com and like just zoning out, and like I need that once a week, Mm-hmm. So if I don't do that, I'm like, oh, so maybe that's what I need. Or like for me, I need to be super active. So if I wasn't surfing a lot last week, maybe that's why I'm burnt out. So I think it's like about like, how can you have balance. What sounds fun to you? Yeah. Like that's literally what it is. Secondary to that, it's just like no one has really cracked the code. Like I've talked to founders and like athletes, like my best friend's an athlete. And as it's like when you want to achieve something great, you have to push the limit. Like, so sometimes burnout is just naturally going to happen. It's a matter of like how you handle it. So you don't need to avoid it. It's just, you need to figure out what you can do to recharge. Mm-hmm. For me, it's really simple things. It's typically the free things. Like I don't do heavy drugs, but like, I'll surf, or like I will watch some show, and that's all I need.
Like just do something that makes you happy, feel good. And you also mentioned that you like have been going to a therapist, and like, how has that helped you kind of like refresh your brain and recharge you?
I go to a therapist for two things: boy problems and business problems, yes. The two B's. And it's been great. Like, I think that, before that, I've been recovering from like an eating disorder. So, I actually realized a lot of my, the reasons why I've been developing an eating disorder was because of the boys and business problem. So by tackling those two, I actually solve a lot of my life issues, and I'm doing a lot better. Getting a therapist is super awkward and tough, but I definitely recommend it if you can. And I know it's like expensive, but there's definitely like insurance options in LA if you guys have that. But yeah, it's definitely hard to find the right therapist. I got lucky, and me and my therapist click.
Oh, good. Really, and it was just like an instant match.
Yeah, she's vibing. It's funny though, because so she works with a lot of like high stressed CEOs, like that's her niche. And I'm like, most of them are 40 years old, right?
Oh wow.
So like when I like was like, hi, I'm 20. Like, my problems is like, this boy is being really annoying. And she's like, kind of like, not laughing, but she's like, damn, like, you are my youngest client, because a lot of the problems is not about
Like,
your
they really
husband or your
stand out,
kids.
yeah.
It's about your little fling.
Well, it's probably refreshing too for her to be like, okay, like, this is a little something different than what she's used to. Kind of switch up in her life.
Entertained. She's definitely entertained by me.
I love that. What about inspiration? Like, where do you get your inspiration? Where have you found that like other people are getting their inspiration for everything that you do, not just like videos, but like your other businesses? Where do you get your inspiration?
That's a good question. I think I get my inspiration from my childhood. I think I look back at like, what did I like as a kid? Two things. I liked beauty YouTubers that like made me feel really present, and I liked to, do music. And I think when I look back to like, when you grow up, you kind of try to be as far as away from your younger self. Like, you try to be more mature, you try to like have, responsibilities. But I think true, like, who you are is actually really similar to like who you are as a kid, because that's typically when you're the most creative and like free. So I look at like, basically I look at the YouTubers I used to watch. Like, I actually rewatch my old YouTube videos. Not that I'm my own inspiration, because that's kind of cringy, but like I will watch older videos of mine, or like the people I liked. Another thing that inspires me lately has just been like, and I keep saying this, but it's just like Michelle Phan as a person. Do you know her?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen her. Yeah.
You've seen her?
Yeah.
She's just cool. Like, she's just a YouTuber that has a company that sold for 800 million. Now she's doing crypto stuff. Like,
oh, that's amazing.
She's just cool. I just like people that have like creative stories, but like can do something technical. Because I grew up in a household, so my dad's a data scientist, and I've always been told like, if you are a creative person, you're not going to make money. Or if you're a creative person, I think a lot of people can relate to this. If your parents are trying to force you to do like computer science, right? Is like, you won't make money unless you're like technical. And like, I struggled with that like idea. And I think that for me, it's like, I'm doing something creative, which is YouTube, but I'm still being able to like use my like brain in a technical way. And I think that I admire people that are able to balance both.
So were your parents always supportive of you doing like a creative job when that's not what they're used to?
It's supportive is like the right word. They're supportive with a lot of like with some constraints. It's like, I'm supportive until you don't make money. Yeah. And I'm supportive until you stop trying. They're supportive, but it's just like, it's like, I got some shit to prove.
Do you ever celebrate like small victories? Do you think that helps you like keep going, or do you just celebrate big things, or do you not celebrate at all? You're like, no.
Do I celebrate small victories? Yeah. No. I need to though. I think my friends help me do. Like, sometimes like my best friend Claire would be like, oh my God, like, you did this? Like, here's a flower. And I'm like, what? Why? And she's like, because you did something great. And I'm like, damn. So I don't know. I think I need people to help me do that. Yeah. My parents are horrible at at like, no, they're proud of me. But parents are parents. Like, I think it's like something I need to do. So I don't know. Do you celebrate small wins?
Sometimes. I think I do when it's like big small wins. If that makes sense.
I know what you mean. It has to be monumental. It can't be anything.
But I'll do like something that I like to do. So I think then it motivates me. It's kind of like what you were saying. Like, sometimes you need a break and you do something that you love. So for me, like, I give myself that break once I've like accomplished something.
Right. That's true. I do that. I will treat myself to time with people. Like, I don't need necessarily a party, but like, I get to spend one day without looking at my phone, and that's enough sometimes.
Oh, okay. I've never heard anyone doing that, but.
Oh yeah.
No. No, yeah. What about taking risks? Like, do you feel like you've taken big risks and that's been like a factor in your success, or are you afraid of risks? Like, how do you feel about that? And what do you see when you work with other people? Like, when they take risks, are you seeing like that pay off?
That's a good question. I'm a crazy goat. Goat? I've never described myself as a goat. I'm a crazy
greatest on earth. Yes.
I am the greatest on earth. No, I'm quite crazy with risk. Like, I dropped out of high school. I moved to LA with $1,000 bank account, no plan. Like, I definitely am on the very edge because I have nothing to lose. Because the thing that I know is like, I'm young. Mm-hmm. Like, I was 16 at the time, and if I ever messed up, I could always go back to school. Mm-hmm. I think it depends. Like, if you're listening to this podcast and you have like 2 kids and a mortgage, like, don't take that much risk, Yeah. I think that if you're under 25 and you don't have a mortgage and you have like potentially no debt, like, take a damn risk. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I literally have seen nobody, like, unless you half-ass it, okay? Mm-hmm. I've seen nobody that took a fat risk, like, regret it completely. Yeah. Like, yeah, you might like fall down. Like, did I say that, you know, when you take a risk, you're gonna be successful immediately? No, like I had to move back to my parents' house for like 3 months at one point because I couldn't pay rent. You know, it's like not like that. It's just like I've never seen anybody that has like fully committed, like regret it and at least learn something from it. So, you know, for me, it's like, hell yeah.
like take the risks.
Take it.
What about when you doubt yourself? Like, how are you able to like get rid of that voice in your head about like a project that you're about to work on?
I hypnotize myself.
Okay.
Okay, I'll explain.
Yes, please
so
explain.
When I have so a lot of the times, and I learned this from therapy, so okay, I'll give you guys some tips. A lot of the times, Alanah, what is the most negative thing you typically say to yourself? Is it a phrase that you repeat to yourself? Like, what is it?
I think I tell myself that I'm not good enough, or like I don't know how to do it well, whatever I'm doing.
I'm not good enough, right?
Yeah.
So that's a phrase I tell myself too. So you want to write down, like almost like write down what your negative self says, but you don't want to imagine it as you. Imagine it as another character, like Cassandra. Okay, so like for me, I have a separate character, and this voice is saying these things, and I write it down. Like I write it down. You are so worthless. You're so fat. You're gross. Whatever. And then basically, you want to like notice that these are not your voices. It's typically like a lot of times you can ask yourself when you see this paper, like, what is your earliest memory of this voice? Yeah. And sometimes it's your parents, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's not even anything. It's just like sometimes you don't even remember. I had that happen. Like, wait, I don't even know where this came from, but it wasn't from me. Yeah. A lot of your negative self-talk is from other things, and you realize that that's not your voice. And there's not really a solution to this, but when you do that exercise, you realize like, oh, like when I say I'm not good enough, it's not I'm not good enough. It's like I had a parent that told me when I was 6 years old that I couldn't join the soccer team. And ever since then, I realized like I can't do anything that I put my mind to. It's like you realize it's not about you right now. It's about your childhood and the way you're hurting. Not all the time. Sometimes it's just like society. Like if you grew up in social media all the time, it could be like not even a person. It's just your comment section, because that's really scary. So I think it's about like now that you identify, yo, not my voice, you could be like the next time you hear, you know, yourself saying I'm not good enough, you're like, you're not changing the way you think to yourself. You just say, this is not my voice. I have a choice to listen to it, or I can just, you know, move forward. Yeah. And I think lately I've been doing that. Like lately when I get anxiety, I'm like, whose voice is this? This is not mine. And when you're able to make that distinction, you can actually move forward from self-doubt. It's really hard to reprogram your brain, but that really helps me.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. I'm going to try to use that. Do you think practice makes perfect, that you can be successful at anything you do if you're like putting your mind to it and practicing and doing it all the time? Or do you think you just have to be good at the thing that you're doing, like find your strength? Like, how do you feel about
I think a lot of things are trainable, but some things come naturally to you if there's talent. And if there's talent, you don't want to focus on things that, like, I think life is about efficiency and doing less work, right? Like, there's this YouTube video trend called, like, I don't dream of labor. And I'm like, yeah, like, I don't dream of working harder to get the same results. Like, what? Yeah. You know? Like, so I think it's, like, figure out what do you do really good in? Because you don't want to spend a whole lifetime being good at something that you're mediocre in naturally. Like, for me, you know, I'm super great. I can play the violin, piano, and cello, but can I code? Heck no, I am dyslexic. I will screw up your website. And I don't want to, like, for the longest time, I was like, I need to learn how to code. But I'm like, you know what? Yeah, no. So I don't know. I think it's like, yeah, you can learn anything, but like, do you want to learn everything? Like, you probably want to learn what you're naturally good at.
Yeah. Oh, that is something I have not thought about before. I'm not going to lie. I did not think about that. So do something that you like and that you're just probably naturally good at is kind of a good tip.
Yeah, it's way more enjoyable. Like, you want it to be fun. Like, I think a lot of people forget, like, why do you want to be successful? Because you want to have fun. Yeah. So I think it's like just figuring out, like, what do you naturally are good at? It's super hard if you don't experiment. And I think a lot of people don't find what they're good at because they don't want to fail. Like, I tried to code, but it didn't work. But then, like, okay, it didn't work. So, like, I think you have to be, like, especially if you're younger, like, you're in school still, like, join a bunch of clubs. Like, I feel like clubs, kind of cringy. You have to like socialize a little bit, but like those are the fastest ways to like know what you like and don't like.
Yeah, to figure it all out. What's your next big goal? Like what are you working on? What's your next projects?
What is my next big goal? So I am a creator for the past 10 years and I've always been passionate about helping other creators just make money. Money's fun, it's cool. it pays for stuff. So I'm working on a project that not only combines creators making money, but I'm also passionate about climate change and sustainability. So my next project involves all the three. It's called NFTs. Do you know what an NFT is, Alanah?
I do, a little bit. Like, I'm not familiar with that at all, but I know the basic.
Perfect. So basically, NFTs are something super powerful. It stands for non-fungible token. People, creators, artists can basically sell art, anything on the blockchain, and it's unique, and basically no one can take it away from you. That's where non-fungible comes in. Anyways, imagine like it's a trophy, like it's one of a kind, and it's digital.
Yeah.
I'm working on a project that basically takes trees, like physical trees in LA, where we plant them. So I'm working with a nonprofit called Cambion Carbon. We're planting 100 trees with 10 creators. So 10 creators plant 10 trees, and their fans can buy that tree. And the portions of the NFT sale will go to climate change organizations, funding other sustainable initiatives, and obviously the creator. So we're basically doing this in the next month. So my agency, I run a company called X8 Media, and we do a lot of stuff. We work with tech companies to, do marketing, but lately we've been working on like social movements and nonprofit stuff. So that's my next project, hopefully trying to tackle a lot of, the issues that I'm so passionate about, which is, like our earth. Like one thing to note is like this summer, Alanah, is the least extreme flooding, fires, and natural disasters we're ever going to see moving forward. Wow. It's going to get worse, and we as creators, and like I believe we have a platform, we can do something about it. So I'm trying to do something on the LA side, a little small community, but for me it's like, wow, like what can I do? I want to do big projects that are not about me, but helping others. So that's for me. Of course I have some loftier goals, and like internally I want to, like, I don't know, like buy some like nice clothes, but I don't, like
those are just little goals.
I'm like little goals, but that's my big goal. Like that's my next project.
Okay, I love that. Well, thank you for talking to me today. I feel like we answered all the questions, and also I got you a gift.
What?
Yes, I don't have it in person because I ordered it off Etsy and it's personalized. But I will send it to you, or you're also in LA, but I'll show you what it is. It's a necklace. I got you gold because you like seem like you wear gold. I just looked at your
Yes, I do wear gold. You're so
okay,
right.
Great. So I'll show you what it is. Hopefully you'll be able to see through the screen. Let's see, where is it? Okay. So it's a gold necklace. On one side it says your name. Looks like that.
Oh my gosh.
On one side it says your name. On the other side it says Thrive. So just a little reminder of your time here on the show.
Alanah, you're so cool.
You're so cool.
Wait, that's so fun.
Oh, and I forgot to mention, you were the first, when I came up with this concept of like THRIVECAST and like what I wanted it to be, you were the first person I thought of. You've inspired me, so you were the first person I wanted to have on the show.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That's so sweet. Yeah. Well, I am so happy to be here, and like I said, like we should, when we're back maybe in a similar area, we should definitely meet up.
Yes. And I'll send you this. Just let me know where to send it. You can message me. Thank you so much. What's up? It's your girl, Alanah. Thank you for watching this episode of THRIVECAST. Be sure to hit the red subscribe button and the bell notifications, and I'll see you over on Instagram at THRIVECAST Podcast.